Hello and welcome everyone to this live demo session on SAP UI5 and Fiori training with me, Anubhav, on SAP Business Application Studio. In this live demo session, we are going to go through the core concepts of SAP UI5, followed by a system demo in the live system, and then your question and answers. Let's try to understand the agenda of this live demo. We will first understand the developer persona. Who is this training for? And how can you give an edge to your career with taking an advantage of this module? We will understand the overview of this course and the course outline. Followed by, we will see our demo use case. We will do a live demonstration in the system with Business Application Studio tool. So you will get used to my teaching methodology. And finally, we will have some FAQs along with live question and answers. So let's get to understand first, who is this training for? So if you're working like Max, who is a UX designer and willing to start building productive UI5 applications and Fiori applications for your company, not just building the mockups, but building real-time applications, this training is going to help you. If you're like Rima, who is a college fresher just out of college, have zero experience and aspire to become a full stack SAP developer, then this is the first step towards learning SAP UI5 as a full stack SAP developer. If you are working like an application developer, or for example, as an ABAP developer, or portal developer, or a CRM developer, or a WebDean Pro developer in SAP space like Kelly, who would want to give an edge to her career by learning new skills. Currently, she's working as an ABAP consultant and willing to build Fiori application in ECC and S4HANA. This training is also going to help you. Finally, if you're working like Peter, who's any SAP technical advocate working in the field of SAP or working with any other UI technologies which are from non-SAP like Angular or React and willing to start their journey with SAP UI5, then this training is also going to help you. Keeping these personas in mind, you can, from any background, any technical and semi-technical background, use this course to give an edge to your career. Having said that, let's look at the overview of this training. What can you expect in next 40 hours of this course? In the next 40 hours of this journey, we will first start with the step 1, which is fundamentals. You will understand the web development fundamentals, including HTML5, CSS, JavaScript, and jQuery. You will understand how to set up the development tools in your laptop, like Business Application Studio and VS Code. We will also cover basics of Node.js in this training. So no matter which background you come from, you will always become very comfortable with this course, starting with the right web fundamentals. Especially you're coming from a background, have no experience on web development, we are going to make sure that you get well versed first with the basics of web development. And then only we will get you into the concepts of UI5. In the step 2 or the phase 2, you will understand how to build UI5 applications, understand the framework, the control hierarchies, working with SDKs, and build amazing UI5 applications using MVC architecture. In the third phase, we will take you through the Fiori application development using SAP mobile library with the latest concepts to build amazing Fiori apps for your company. In the last step, you will see how to build OData services, which help you to expose your current ERP data from ECC or S4HANA, and then build amazing Fiori apps on top. You will learn entire end-to-end life cycle, starting from design to development, testing to managing, packaging to deployment, and finally, taking your application to the production system via the transports. This is all will be part of this entire journey of this training. So this 40-hour training is designed for an absolute beginner or an ABAP developer who have never ever worked on UI5, yet aspire to transform their career and wanted to become a Fiori developer and give an edge to your career and attract more job opportunities and openings within your organization. This training is designed for you. Having said that, let's see what we can expect in the demo today. In today's demo, I will start first with the development tool called Business Application Studio, which is also known as the BAS tool, which is the right development tool for building Fiori applications in our company. Then we will create a simple project, a UI5 project, and we will utilize the MVC architecture to do so. I will explain you a brief about what is MVC and how do you design productive application using MVC. Then we will test and develop our simple user interface using the BAS tool. Finally, we will run our application into the browser. So that will be the journey of this demonstration session, followed by live question and answers. Having said that, let's get started and understand what is SAP UI5. So let's try and understand what is SAP UI5. SAP UI5 is a framework to develop responsive web application. It is the successor technology of SAP GUI, WebDyn Pro, and BSP. So as an SAP developer, you may be already using one of the technologies like SAP GUI, where you're building PBO and PAIs to create your GUI-based programs. You are building WebDyn Pro applications for your company using WebDyn Pro Java or ABAP, or you are using BSP technology, especially in SAP CRM, to build your interfaces. But going forward, all the applications will be built using SAP UI5 framework. Now, here we highlight two important words, framework and responsive. What do we mean by that? So a framework is nothing but it's a collection of libraries. We are living already in 21st century where the time is gone that you write every small part of application yourself, every small component yourself. Rather, these days we use frameworks. These frameworks provide out of the box libraries. You can plug and play with these libraries and quickly generate your interfaces. So a lot of work is now being taken care by these frameworks rather than writing heavy amount of boilerplate code yourself. Then what is a library? A library is nothing but a collection of classes. What is a class? Class is nothing but collection of attributes, methods, and events. So all in all, if you look at a framework, it's a collection of large number of classes which are grouped under libraries to help you design and develop applications on top of it. The advantage is you will get out of the box features, out of the box product standards, and many other features from the framework. Now, what do you mean by responsive application? So responsive web application is an application which automatically adapts according to the device, which means your application code is written only once and it works for all the smart devices like mobile, tablet, and desktop devices. So that way you don't have to rewrite the logic and application code for different devices, different browsers, and different platforms. It is a single time code written and it works for all the devices which you have in your company. So that is the main USP of learning SAP UI5 as a technology. It helps you to build very powerful, robust application which are ready to support any device as well. Now, when you talk about building UI5 application, we have to follow the architecture. And the architecture which we follow is called model, view, and controller architecture, or in short, called MVC. So what is MVC? So we have the model, we have the view, and we have the controller. So a model is nothing but the data part of the application. So all your data of the application is stored inside the model. The view is nothing but the input output with which user will interact with your application, basically your interface. And the controller is where all the application logic or the processing logic is written. So all the business logic is written inside a controller. So this way you modularize your entire application in small pieces like this, which are easy to manage, easy to consume, easy to plug and play, and can develop very large and complicated application using this methodology. We will discuss more about MVC architecture in unit number 12 in our training. But in simple way, you can see view is your input output. The user will interact with our view which means our user will only see the view, the front end part. And whenever user does an activity, for example, clicking a button, it will send a signal to the controller. And controller is where you will write your logic. So when a user clicks a button or does an activity, it triggers an event. And this event will then eventually triggers a event handler, which is a function where you write all the logic. And ultimately, if it requires the data to be modified, that modification of the data happens inside the model. Yeah. So this is what happens inside the model. And once the data is modified inside the model, eventually the model will notify back to the controller that the data has been modified. Yes. So this will notify the updates. And then once the update is done, the update will be sent back to the user interface, which is the view, where the user will see that the changes have been made to the screen. So this is typically how the UI5 applications are built. If you have worked already on WebDing Pro, pretty much the same architecture is used almost in all the UI technologies these days. So having said that, what other tools do we use to build our Fiori application or UI5 applications? So we use a tool called Business Application Studio. This is a tool provided by SAP to design and develop the Fiori applications for us. So in this demo now, I will be taking you to the BAS tool, and there I will help you to create our first UI application. So I will head over to the browser where I've already set up the BAS tool before the demo session. Don't worry, if you are new to the system, then I will show you in the next episode, which is our session 1 tomorrow, how to set up the BAS tool. Yeah. You will be able to set up the BAS tool for free for yourself, and you can do the hands-on after the class. So in today's, for the demo session, I will not show you how did I reach to the screen, but in next class tomorrow, I will show you how did I set up my BAS tool myself. Now, once we are here on the BAS tool, we can start creating a project. And as I mentioned, we are living in 21st century, so a lot of code, lot of application logic will be written by these powerful tools. So we choose a Fiori application, and we will be choosing a Fiori application of type freestyle, a basic Fiori application of type freestyle application, because that's the one where we will get the model view and controller components. Now it asked me to connect to a data source. So at the moment, I wanted to keep my demos simple. Hence, I will not connect to any system. But in the future, I will also show you how do we connect to our company SAP system. So we can load the corresponding data from our company system. Then we will put the view name. As you already know what is a view, is the user interface, what user will see. So let's give the view name as main view. And now we can give our application name. So we can just provide the application name, say Fiori app, and I will give also the application title, my first application, and I click on finish. So this will now create a very basic template of our first UI5 application over here. Yeah, and you can see it has created a couple of files. In our unit number 11, 12, and 13, I will explain each and every file to you. So don't worry, when we go in the detail in our training, I will explain the purpose of each and every file. But for now, we can just go back and add some content to our screen, our view, where user see some button. So you can see here we have got the model, the view, and the controller. Yeah. So these are the three important components which I was explaining you in the PPT. Now the starting file will always be this file. And in this file, what exactly is generated here is this particular piece of code, which explains that I'm going to load the UI5 framework first of all. So in order to build a Fiori application, you need to first load the framework, which is the UI5 framework. As I mentioned, it is a collection of libraries, and the library is a collection of classes, and the classes are a collection of these attribute methods and events. So we will talk more about the framework in unit number 13, where I will explain you the intricacies and also the so-called SDK for this UI5 framework, but for now you can understand that this block of code is going to load the framework when we start the application. Just like in C program, you write hashtag studio.h and hashtag conio.h to load the preprocessor directives in C. This is like more of a starting code for Fiori applications. Yeah. So here it will load the UI5 framework. This is the framework path. And then it loads a library, which is the mobile library by default. And it also loads a SAP Horizon theme. Yes. So this is what exactly the application does at the time of start. And then here is the view which we created. And in this view, we can write our logic. So SAP provide a beautiful layout editor to start developing your user interface. And what I'm going to do today is just to add a very simple button along with the image. So we can show an image to the user on click of the button. So of course, all the logic should be written inside the view, and we load this layout editor, which we can use to design our screen, our view. So this will be pretty easy for us to design a screen over here. And now I will just go ahead to this low code, no code tool to design our screen. So I will first drag and drop a button, and I will just give the button text as click me. And let me also add a image control to show image to the user. And that's a nice UI5 logo by default, but I want a Donald Duck image. So I want say Donald Duck. Just Google the images for Donald Duck. And yeah, I guess this looks good for me. So I can right click, copy image address, come back and paste the same. That's our Donald Duck. And now by default, I will make the image as false. Yeah, I hide the image. So the control is already there, but it's hidden from the user at the time of start of the application. And now, of course, we will write our logic, as I mentioned, inside a controller. So whenever user click the button, the event gets triggered for the button, and this will trigger an event handler. So where is my event? So if I go to the button, let me also give the ID for this image. Let's say Anubhav. Yeah, that's ID. And now I go to the button and I go to events. So whenever user click the button, a event will get triggered. So now you can see the layout editor is unable to trace my controller at the moment. This is sort of a bug in the tool, but we can just go back and open the view inside a text editor. And now this is our generated code. So for this button, I will add a event called press event. And whenever user click the button, I will say on click. This is my event handler. And where do you implement the event handler? So you implement the event handler inside the controller now. So what's the name of the controller? You can see here the controller name. It's also called main. So we go to the controller folder, and in the main, here we can write our logic on click. So what I'm going to do in this, so here what we do is whenever user click the button, we are going to write the logic. So in step number 1, we are going to get the object of the image. And step number 2, we are going to make the image visible to the user. So one thing you will observe that I will never copy paste the code during the class. I will write every single line of code explaining you the core concepts so that you can easily understand every line of code which we are doing in the system. So of course, we first get the object of the image. So let's create a variable using var. Now this is basically called JS. So I will be covering JS also, JS basics for you, the JS basic syntax. So you all get comfortable with basics of JS. So you can understand how to write the code in UI5 using JS. So this is also part of your programming on this training. So during session number 5, 6, 7, we will be learning JS in this training. Don't worry if you're coming from any background, college background, or even from, let's say, a web background, you will be able to learn the JS. Yeah. So now I will create an image, and I will say, get me the view. Yeah. So I just say, get me the view object. because my button is inside or my image is inside the view. And what's the name of the image? So you see, this is our image. And what's the ID of the image which we give? If you remember, we give ID as Anubhav. That's a unique identifier of that image control. So I say, hey, can you get me the object of the image by its ID? And I have the image object now. So what we do is we make set this image visible, and we say visible to true. So on click of the button, this event handler will trigger. This is my event handler, which gets triggered when user clicks the button. This event handler gets triggered, and this will make the image visible to the user. Cool. So that was it for a very simple example of building a user interface and writing a processing logic for my image. And rest all the code is boilerplate, which I will also explain during our classes. As we progress in our training, you will understand each and every folder, its structure, its components, and how did this whole thing got generated automatically. Everything behind the scenes I will explain during our regular classes. So for now, we are happy. It's time to start our application. So I go back to the application info and I say preview. So can you please run my application and show me the preview of my application over here to the end user? Yeah. So that should start our application now. And there you go. It's booting up. And my web application, my first mobile application is booting up. Yeah. And there you go. Yeah. So we got the click me button. And of course, my Donald Duck is not there. And if I click, voila, there you go. You can see my Donald Duck is visible. Superb, super fabulous. So we wanted to maybe make a bit more change. Like if every time I click, I want to toggle. So no problem. We can just add a bit of code more. So what we do on every click of the button, we will check the status of the image first. So we get the status, my image, get visible, and if it's visible, if it's not visible, make it visible, else make it non-visible. That's it. Beautiful. So a bit of condition, if condition in programming, and that should make my image work, my Donald Duck work like a toggle. So it reboots my application, and let's see. Voila, there you go. And if I click, nice, you can see on click of the button, my Donald Duck is visible and invisible at runtime. So this way, a lot you can learn. Of course, where are these APIs coming from? Where are these functions coming from? All of this I will show you in Unit 13 when I discuss about UI5 SDK in our journey. This was just a short demo of you to understand how the tool works, how exactly the architecture works, and how you can write your first UI5 interface and run that in the BAS tool. In this journey, we will be learning everything from scratch, including web development basics, including all the different tools. Having said that, let me move to some of the FAQs. What will be the duration of this training and what are the prerequisites? The duration of this course is 40 hours and there is no prerequisite other than basic programming skills. So if you are a developer or if you're willing to become a developer, you are out of college and you have zero prior experience, doesn't matter. You will be able to learn this training quite easily. What are the timings? And if timing doesn't suit me, can I go with video mode of this training? Absolutely. So in case you are coming from a different time zone and the time doesn't suit you, then you can start this training in video mode. So the timing will be 7 to 8 a.m. India time every day, 1 hour for 40 days, 40 weekdays. It's a weekday batch. And you can opt for video mode training in case you are not available during this time. So you can take our most recent completed batch and ask your questions and doubts over the email. So that is another option. It also applies to those who want to fast track their learning. They don't want to attend regular live classes. They wanted to directly, start the fast track learning in pure video mode. What are the tools we are going to use in this journey? So in this journey, we are going to use two most important tools, which is the first one, BAS tool, Business Application Studio, and the second one is VS Code. Both tools are very much identical. And in our next class, I will show you how to set up and install these tools in your laptops and how to access these tools and what's the difference between these tools. Are there any difference? So VS Code is also another tool which is absolutely free and you can also utilize, and we'll also learn that in this training. So what about server access to practice OData? Will you show a real-time SAP server? Yes, we will need an SAP server, which is for building OData, and that will be required in last 10 sessions. So I will guide you how to get this system access in session number 29, where you will get an OData server, and maybe you can also use that. So don't worry, this training is a complete training by itself, where we will cover all the aspects. So right now you don't have to worry about server access. In case you need a server access, we will also be able to provide it to you on demand basis. You can in fact also use your company server. I will guide you everything in session number 29. Okay, moving on. Will this training cover real-time scenarios? Absolutely yes. We will learn the entire process of design, development, and also taking data from our SAP system, connecting it to the Fiori application, deploying and delivering our application to production system. So this will be indeed end-to-end training for all of you. I'm new to UI5. Can I learn? Yes, certainly you can learn. And this course is designed for a absolute fresher, absolute beginner, and anyone can learn UI5 as part of this journey, even from basics. So HTML, CSS, JavaScript, jQuery, everything is part of this training, and there is no Java experience required at all for learning this training. We will cover all the basics for you. If I miss a class, how do I refer the class? So each class will be recorded, and you can watch the recording once it is done. So even you miss or do not miss a class, even you can watch the video recordings of the class. So we will be recording every session for you. So what's the process to enroll for this course, Anubhav? The course is where the process is very simple, and you just have to send us an email on contact@anubhavtrainings.com. Yeah. So the email ID is also available in the description of the video. So you can just send us an email on this email ID, and then that way you will be part of, we can make you part of this training batch. The session has already started today. Tomorrow is our second class for this demo. All right, with that, thank you once again so much for being part of this demo session. I hope you all enjoyed a short demo on SAP UI5. With that, Anubhav signing out. Once again, thank you so much, and I hope to see you in the next episode tomorrow at the same time. Have a nice day. Bye.